Hey everyone, RaptorSpank here, and I've got something new for you today. Welcome to Metacheck, the show where I look at changes to the meta and do a quick test game of the more interesting meta decks. With Monuments of Strength around the corner, I've decided to go over my picks for big impact cards, as well as preview some decks that could feature these new cards. Let's look at the first of these cards now. I want to start with Lounging Lizard, the 3-cost 3/5 elusive. Round start, deal 2 to me. This is a low-cost, high-power elusive. Should be able to heal up the damage pretty easily too, to potentially get an extra attack out of him, or at least an extra turn out of him. And he gets at least 2 attacks without healing or buffs, as long as he doesn't take any damage, obviously. But essentially, you play him as a 3/5, you swing with him, then he goes down to a 3/3, and then he goes down to a 3/1, and you swing with him again. But using healing, you can make this slightly better, and it's just a better curved elusive for Bilgewater than what they currently have. So it's a high power, low cost, pretty large elusive for what it is. Then we have Sneaky Zeebles, the 5-cost 3/3 with elusive. Play stun enemies with 2 or less power. This is the new Targon elusive. It's high cost and low power, but the play effect could lock out most elusive blockers, and might be worth including for slowing opponents or forcing elusives through, depending on where the meta ends up. Then we have Wisefry, a 6-cost 3/8 with Overwhelm and Vulnerable. Play, deal 1 to all other allies, and grant me +1/+0 for each of them. This is just a potentially great finisher for Go Wide or Zoo decks. They're going to play a bunch of creatures, because then this can get up to, at most, an 8/8. Vulnerable is somewhat concerning, though, since it could be fairly easy for your opponent to kill this, but the potential for a 6-mana 8/8 with Overwhelm is pretty good. Now, what deck do I have in mind for some of these cards? Well, I was thinking BT Fizzlusives. It's a deck that leverages cheap and durable elusive units with powerful low-cost spells. The deck also splashes Fizz as a cheap elusive unit that is hard to remove. The deck was already fringe playable, but Lounging Lizard might just be the threat needed to push this deck to the top, since it didn't really have a great 3-drop. You just ran like Priestess plus Mentor, essentially. And Mentor could be good, but if they killed it, then it wasn't very good, especially if you bank curving out so you don't have banked mana for gems. But now with Lounging Lizards, that gives us a really powerful 3-drop, and we can shave off some of the slower or heavier ends of the spectrum. So I'd probably drop the 2 Slippery Wave Riders and maybe one of the Hushes for 3 Lounging Lizards. The inclusion of Guiding Touch and Citrus Courier can help keep Lounging Lizard around, so it's kind of well enabled to run the card as is, and Pale Cascade / Mentor can also help it survive multiple turns. Zeebles and Wisefried might be worth including, but that's kind of, we'll have to see how the meta evolves. I'm not really ready to throw the Wisefry in right away, but it could be potentially good since this is kind of a go-wide deck. And then Zeebles is really whether Elusives becomes big or not, and we need the 5 mana essentially tap down our opponent's blockers and swing in for lethal. Now let's look at some other cards. Let's look at Starspring, the 2-cost landmark. Round end, heal damaged allies 1. Then, once I've seen you heal 22 plus damage from allies, win the game. It's a new win condition for healing allies, essentially, and it can potentially work well with a number of cards. It does have to see the healing, but it can be a reliable win con against stall decks like FT Trundle Soul, if that's still in the meta. And it can combo pretty well with cards like, say, Ember Maiden or Vladimir. Since both of them deal 1 damage to all of your units, then Starspring would bring them back up to full. So even if you're not winning off of healing allies, which that can get you to the win fairly quickly. I mean, if you just go Starspring into Ember Maiden, you essentially have a clock on your opponent right then and there. And then with Vladimir, it's just like, even if you don't win the game through Starspring, healing back all of that damage is potentially devastating for your opponent. Then we have Soraka, the 3-cost 1/6 support. Heal me and my supported ally 4. Level up, you've healed damaged allies 4+ times, and then she becomes a 2/7. And the first time you heal a damaged ally each round, draw 1. And now her support fully heals her and her ally. Her champion spell is Wish, a 3-cost slow, fully heal damaged allies. This is a great combo piece, especially with Starspring, since it can potentially heal a ton and get that Starspring to fully, I guess, level up very quickly. Not to mention her large health makes her very hard to deal with, and her champion spell is a massive combo with Star Spring. Since 3 mana to fully heal everything, if you've taken a ton of damage, that's so much healing, which is really great for Star Spring. But just in general, she's also kind of a great mid-range champion. I think there's a number of places she might end up seeing play that don't even care about Star Spring or even necessarily healing allies. Just using her as a 3 mana heal for your big units is honestly pretty strong on its own. But what deck do I have in mind? Well, my first thought is NT essentially Spring to Win. It'd be a new Vladimir deck looking to combine tons of Noxus self-damage with Targon Healing. We'd run Staraka and Starspring as offsets to the self-damage, and we might eventually get to winning with Starspring using this kind of deck since we do a ton of damage to our own units. Probably I'd drop the 3 Arbiters from my list as well as the 3 Solari Soldiers, and perhaps drop a Guillotine for a Divergent Path. Basically, the deck looks to win with Vlad-style self-damage negated with healing, or just going for the Starspring combo kill. Now let's look at some more cards. Specifically, I'm looking at Patched Porobot. The 2 cost 2/3. While in hand, I have a random keyword that changes each round. When I'm summoned, grant me this keyword. Honestly, this is actually an insane Poro card. A 2/3 for 2 is already a great body, but the fact that it's going to get some random keyword attached to this could be very devastating for what our opponents are trying to do. I mean, imagine a turn 2 2/3 with, say, Lifesteal, or maybe Tough. If it's Tough, it's going to be super hard to kill. If it has Elusive, now it's insane. Like, pretty much any keyword is going to be great. I mean, if you're attacking turn 2 and this gains Scout, that's insane. Like, a lot of decks are just going to take a ton of damage from that. So, it really is just... There's no keyword you're really looking at and being like, oh, that's awful. I mean, like, Barrier and Challenger are probably up there, but even those will have some value. So, it's just a really, really strong Porobot. I suppose you could hit Ephemeral. That would be the worst thing. But then you just wait one more turn and you get something different. So it's just a really great curve out for the Poro deck. And the massive body, like I said, is just that's really good for Poros. They could definitely use a 2-drop with 3 health. That's not bad in the slightest bit. So what deck am I looking at? Of course it's Poro Zoo, except now running instead of Bilgewater, running Piltover. Patch Porobot might just be enough with the previous Poro Cannon edition to push Piltover to the top of the Poro list. PZ already had the best 1-drop as it had the Elusive Poro, and now it has a great 2-drop to curve into from that. You probably would drop the Troll Chance and then maybe the Tavern Keep, or either drop like all 3 copies of Shared Spoils for 3 Patch Porobots, and that honestly could make this Poro Zoo list pretty competitive. Now let's look at Crystal Ibex. It's a 4-cost 4/4, play, grant an ally Overwhelm. This is an insane mid-range payoff, since you can basically just use it to turn other great statted units into real win cons on their own by giving them Overwhelm. And it's got a great body of its own. I mean, a 4-mana 4/4 is really, really strong. And it turns mediocre chump blockable creatures into overwhelming win cons. So the deck I'm looking at with this is just the GT Lux Sol deck from the previous meta. Ibex might just be enough to push the Lux Shell back to Aurelion Sol over Leona, because if you Ibex on Aurelion Sol, you now have a 10/10 with Overwhelm and Fury, so if anything blocks it, it's just going to keep getting bigger. So that's just an absurd win con on its own. Not just this, but giving Overwhelm to a Remembrance unit or Radiant Guardian / Lux is crazy good. You replace the 3 Ravens with Ibexes, or potentially you can replace the 2 Surgeons and Judgment with Ibex, and then replace Raven with Screeching Dragon. Because obviously Screeching Dragon would be another great payoff to play Ibex on and give it Overwhelm, so that's another thing to consider. And this should be a solid deck, assuming the meta doesn't change massively, essentially, and make this deck too slow. Now for some leftovers. Let's look at the Howling Abyss, a 7-cost landmark, round start, create in hand a random level 2 champion that's not in your hand, deck, or play. This card is either stone unplayable or the worst card ever made for this game, to be quite honest, and that alone is a good enough reason it really should not have been made. This is going to probably be great in FS ramp control decks, and that kind of deck could even run, say, Maokai mainboard to remove the chance of whiffing by hitting it, because the level 2 Maokai is actually not that good, since its leveling up is what obliterates the opponent's deck. So grabbing a level 2 one just means you're getting a regen unit that creates saplings every turn, which is not awful, but one of the weaker things you can hit. But the fact is, most level 2 champions are just really, really good. So while it's crazy amounts of RNG, I mean, it's just going to keep giving you value. And there's a good chance you can make most of that value good for you. But again, my biggest problem with this card is that it's literally going to be like it must be banned or nerfed or deleted or whatever, or it's going to be completely unplayable. So I'm not really sure why they went this route, but we'll see. Maybe it won't be that bad. Then we have Vaults of Helia, 5 cost landmark, round start, kill your most expensive ally to summon an ally from your deck that costs 1 more. Could be a neat Aristocrats toy. The from your deck, though, kind of kills this card a little bit, I feel, because it's kind of hard to play around, because you have to, or build around, because you have to have all these units in your deck. So, eventually, I think, based on the wording of this, it should kill your highest cost unit, and then you gain nothing from it, which would be pretty bad. So, while it's great to, say, play the 3 mana Undying, and then Vault of Helia kills it, and it gets replaced with something else, then comes back. Like, that looks good. But I think this is just going to be really too hard to build a good deck around, and a little hard to make work. It's gonna be kind of slow, and I think that might be a problem for the Aristocrats deck. Then we have Voices of the Old Ones, the 8 cost burst spell. Get 2 empty mana gems. For the top 4 cards in your deck, draw each that costs 8+. Then shuffle the rest into your deck. This plus Weirding Stones equals 8 mana on turn 5, which is pretty insane, to be fair. But that also means you do nothing in turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, essentially, other than playing a Weirding Stones. And that just seems way too slow to me. Unless they heavily nerf aggro, then this seems a little bit too much of a neat trick that's just kind of just gonna leave yourself open to getting destroyed by most decks. It's probably not good essentially then, but you may see it in warm other play. I mean, it's possible you play this a little bit later than turn 4, and so you just hit Enlighten faster. I could see it being good for that rather than the turn 5 8 mana, but we'll see. This could honestly end up being a really, really good card. Then let's look at Nopify, the 2 cost fast spell, stop a fast or slow spell that costs 3 or less. This is a neat half cost deny. It's good for combo decks, bad for kind of go wide decks, because go wide decks are fearing board wipes, and this doesn't stop any board wipes. So that's where it's not going to be as good. Like, you're still going to run deny in things like if you're running Ionian Bannerman, or if you're running elusive decks, or any of those Ionia decks that are going to be afraid of things like Ruination, you're still going to run deny. It could be good for protecting really powerful 3-drops, like Zed comes to mind, because he often dies to things like Mystic Shot, Get Excited, etc. So having Nopify to essentially just bank 2 mana to deny, whereas like before you could only bank up to 3 mana going into turn 3, so you couldn't actually deny things. You just had to pump Zed. This is another way to keep him alive on turn 3. It could also be potentially good for Fiora, but in a Fiora deck, you're really going to want the denies too for things like Vengeance. Then we have Divergent Pass, the 3 cost fast spell, draw a landmark or destroy a landmark. This is great for landmark combo decks that are looking to use things like Star Spring or say the Howling Abyss, because this will allow them to run essentially more copies of that card in their deck and really ensure that they find it. And flexibility means it's going to be great in decks that use both modes. Like if you're fearing other people's landmarks as well as running your own, this can be great because you can choose whichever one you need the most. If landmarks are broken, if things like the Howling Abyss are so format warping, I definitely could see this card getting played just as a 3 mana kill landmark spell. Like if they are that broken and they look like they have the potential to maybe be, this definitely just could end up in decks, so I think that would be pretty unhealthy for the metagame, because if you can't use both modes, this is an extremely limited kill spell. Now, while I'm in the middle of editing, Shyvana's been teased, so I just want to go over my first impressions of this. I think the cards are pretty neat, to be honest. Shyvana's pretty strong as another 4-drop dragon, and the fact she buffs herself every turn is pretty good. Should help her attack often without necessarily risking too much. Strafing Strike is also a pretty neat trick, but usually dragons are going to take more than 2 damage, so it's not actually going to heal them up. So I think this is going to be okay, but I think dragons have a tendency to kind of kill themselves fairly quickly. And that's my biggest concern with this. Eclipse Dragon looks pretty solid. Cadogan looks pretty good too, because it's essentially like a Windfarers for dragons, which is pretty awesome. I think Eclipse Dragon's the stronger of the two because it gives you 2 cards in hand if you can trigger Nightfall. And I think that's probably better than the Daybreak version, but it's kind of hard to say. I don't think Dragon Guard Lookout is very good. We'll see for sure. But I think a Dragon deck, since it's kind of a late game deck anyways, is really just kind of like you could run things like Tiana Crown Guard, essentially, instead of Dragon Guard Lookout. So I think more straightforward rally effects will be better than this conditional one. That said, the biggest problem I see with dragons is the same thing that's always been the case, is how they win. It can be a bit hard because they don't have a lot of ways of forcing the damage through, so they can be chump blocked pretty easily. And like I said, while the Fury does make them bigger, I've had a very hard time keeping Screeching Dragon alive through even a third attack, essentially. Like, by the second attack, it's usually pretty low in health, and then by the third attack, it's even lower. So it's pretty hard to keep your dragons alive, and I don't think Strafing Strike heals enough to fix that problem. And like I said, none of these really have ways to force the damage through, so you're kind of just hoping for, like, say, a Great Beyond. But I could see a deck that might be reasonably strong, where you're playing the Demacia Targon Dragon deck, obviously, but instead of running Aurelion Soul, I think I might run Soraka, just to keep healing the dragons up, and then you just run a ton of rally effects, so you just keep attacking over and over and over again, until your opponent is out of blockers and can't keep up with you. I think that might be the best way to make this shell work. And like I said, I think actually Soraka is better for the deck because her Wish healing all your damage units should be insane. And the fact that she can pretty easily fully heal all of your dragons is really, really good. So I think that might be the best place to go. And I could see that being fringe playable, and maybe, depending on where the metagame ends up, that could actually be competitive. But that's my biggest thought looking at the Shyvana cards that were teased today and yesterday. The ones yesterday were pretty good too, because that gave you a slightly better curve for dragons. So it's not like you either have Herald in the beginning or you have no early plays. Like I think they added some solid things that should make the deck better. I'm just not sure it's quite there yet. Now let's check out some of the decks in action without the new cards. Alright, so let's see. BT Fizzlusives here in our pre-Monuments of Strength patch. This is a neat little thing. Viteric. So it's going to be hard to deal with that Vi. I don't like this hand right here. Zap's tempting to keep because we can attack this turn, and all of these cards can be good. I might keep Mentor, just for the turn 3 play. But with nothing to use these on, it's not really worth keeping any of those. So we'll pitch all of this, and we'll keep Mentor. Because again, we are an aggro deck, so we're looking for aggressive hand. This is much better. Golden Narwhal on turn 2, that's great. This is still not what we wanted. With no turn 1 play, that's pretty subpar what we want here. But, that said, it's still not too bad. We have an Elusive coming down on turn 2. So that's pretty strong. Ooh, Hush is probably going to be amazing in this matchup for the Vi. The Piltover part is definitely a little concerning for us. Because they should have a lot of ways to kill our Narwhal, potentially, but we'll see how things go. We want to play Mentor this turn, but we might not be able to. Ooh, that could be good too for Written in Stars. Okay, we're in great shape now. We will play that. I mean, he can gem the Assembly Bot and then swing and trade with Narwhal. But that's, like, totally good for us if he does that. So we are definitely fine with that. And we'll just go straight to combat here, I think. I don't think we want to take the risk of losing Mentor, so we're just going to swing. And pump our Golden Narwhal. I mean, it's of course tempting to play Zap first for the extra 2 points of damage, but if he kills Mentor before we actually get to swing, we end up dealing a lot less damage, so it's worth it. I think there's a good chance we'll actually just play Priestess here and try to find Written in Stars. Yeah, we'll play Priestess here. Maybe it gets us Comet if nothing else. Yeah, I think we're the aggro deck here. We want to take Written in Stars. We're not as worried about removal because we have this Hush. So if he does anything that causes problems for us, we can always Hush. We have a chump blocker and Priestess. Hopefully he can't kill this Narwhal, but with Fizz coming, it's not that scary. Yeah, that's fine. Yep, we're okay with that. Do we just Written in Stars, maybe? Yeah, we'll pass for now. We don't need to do anything yet. And we want to leave this Hush up if we have to use it. No Vi this turn, so that's pretty good. Oh yeah, Assembly Bot's gonna get pretty messed up here. Or pretty problematic. Okay. That still has him living. Still has him living.
Never submit.
Alright, I mean, that has him living, that has us living, so we'll just let that happen. And now we can always Guiding Touch heal it. So I think we will Written in Stars, get our Fizz, play our Fizz. We have Guiding Touch to protect him. And then next turn we can use Gems to enable Elusive on him. So there's actually a good chance we just kill our opponent this turn. Let's see. 8 damage, so we have to do 4 more damage. So 2 gems plus Pale Cascade. Decisions. Guess we will gem here. And that's not enough to kill him, so we have to go a little more damage. Oh, we miscounted too. We needed a little more in a lot of ways. Okay. And that still leaves mana to block a kill spell. Plus heal Narwhal. See what he's got. Ooh, that actually is unfortunate. I think it's probably worth leveling Fizz here. Ooh, that's unfortunate. If we had that already, then we wouldn't have had to go all in like that. Still though, big damage here. Now, hopefully, we can survive through next turn. With the Hush as well as the Guiding Touch in hand, we should be all right. Oof, he's got the Vi. All right, he should be all right. So I'm gonna guess he starts next turn by Zenith Blading Taric, and then attacking with Taric supporting Vi would be my guess. Now, what do we need to do in order to keep ourselves in good shape? Probably play another blocker. Which probably means Priestess. Although we do kind of want to be able to... Whoa, really? Well, I mean... But, like, why not use that on Taric? That just seems better to use on Taric. I think we're going to play Dustbringer, by the way, here. So that we use the least amount of mana. Because we kind of want to double Hush. So we're just gonna, we're gonna play Dustbringer here. Set up this double Hush.
These gems grant a wearer harmony.
Okay. We might lose Fizz here. We'll see. See what our opponent does exactly. Oh, Lord. Level Tarek. That is pretty scary, but... Oh, he's gonna go like that? Really? Huh. Interesting. So we want to double hush here. I mean, there's very little reason to block, right? Because he'll have to double Tarek's damage, which seems unlikely, so we'll just... hush here. And hush here. I don't think he can cast enough spells to kill Fizz, so... Should be in good shape. Yep. Kill the assembly bot. Kill the Vi. And we should be set to win next turn. We can just use Duskpel Dust or Guiding Touch to trigger Elusive and swing with both, and our opponent should be dead. Okay, alright, Spacey Sketcher could find something. I don't think... I mean, the best they can find probably is like Equinox for the Narwhal, but they still die to Fizz. Pitches a Bastion, okay. Oh, and with Citrus Courier, we're in even better shape. So the big thing that could go wrong here is Hush.
Temperamental as moonlight. Coming in.
Oh, all right. Well, we got there. Yeah. So that's the power of Fizzlusives, and I think it's only going to be better once we have the 3-drop elusive unit. Big concern that last turn was if our opponent had Hush, we were definitely in bad shape. Because they can Hush Fizz, then Hush the other, and we don't have Elusive anymore. And we can save it with, like, Guiding Touch, but we probably don't deal damage, so we can't Citrus Courier. And if he gets to untap with Tarek, we are definitely in risky business, but that worked. So, yeah, that's definitely a deck that I'm going to have a very close eye on going into Monuments of Strength. Alright, well, we're checking out Spring to Win. This is the deck that I'm the most worried about. I don't really expect to win because we're missing most of the big payoffs that we want for this deck. Like, we're missing the Spring, we're missing Soraka, so this is going to have some issues, I think. But, yeah, I guess we'll keep Vladimir against this kind of setup. I suppose we kind of want more aggro, but, ooh, that's at least good. I mean, it doesn't do anything turn 1, but, I mean, this is kind of a curve out. And if we bank mana next turn for Transfusion, that's fine. But yeah, we're missing our... Ooh, even better. We're missing our big payoff cards, so that should be a bit rough for us. Do we just go for this? Yeah, we'll just go for this.
Is that all?
We set ourselves up to Grasp of the Undying now, but I think we're okay with that. I actually got through. I'm a little surprised by that. Ah, okay. He's ramping this turn. Alright, that makes sense. That makes sense. Alright, now we have to decide if we're going Legion Veteran or Imperial Demolitionist. Ooh, well, I could go Star Shepherd plus Demolitionist. Well, I guess that doesn't really do a ton yet, so we'll go Legion Veteran.
The young fight for glory. I fought for legacy.
And he probably has Vengeance next turn, so that's the big thing. So Vladimir might not be that great. So maybe we go Star Shepherd plus Demolitionist next turn. Yeah, he has Vengeance. He does have Vengeance mana. Although that would take all of his mana, so maybe we're fine with that. Yeah, okay. We'll play Vladimir.
And you must be supper.
Because if he doesn't have an answer, we're about to do some big damage. Soul Gorger. Doesn't kill any of our things. Not yet, anyways.
Bottoms up.
Though this does set us up if he like blocks here to lose Vladimir next turn. Oh, he's gonna go for veteran. Okay. That makes sense.
Every scar a
And this keeps his Soul Gorger in good shape, so pretty decent spot for our opponent to be in. Now I'm looking to play Star Shepherd. That's the ideal thing here.
Do you see me, Anivia?
Okay, well now we would lose veteran if he attacks, so I think we want to Zenith Blade him, especially while we have Daybreak. Okay, good. He did not have the Vile Feast. That was our biggest concern.
I bring the storm.
This one's mine.
Yeah, I think we go for that. Take her out, level up our Vladimir so he flips next turn.
load from that.
I'm Lord.
And he can't kill our Legion veterans, so we can play Star Shepherd plus
Every
Demolitionist.
scar a lesson.
Osu can sniff out any star anywhere. War Mason, reporting for duty.
Yeah, we're in decent shape actually. Better than we were expecting. That's for sure.
Oh, marvelous.
Alright, so we'll go like this, no, we'll go like this. Get our Vladimir trigger, so even if he has a removal spell for Vladimir, we'll get the trigger at least. Withering Wail's a little bit rough for us, if he does that. And he has this Soul Gorger that could be a problem. But we don't get blown out by Ruination yet, because we got the attack off first. Okay, so far working the way we wanted. Well, potentially veteran gets to live. Well, it still has him dead, so he has to Withering Wail. Withering Wail keeps him alive. Apparently put him in a tough spot, but Vengeance? Vengeance on Vladimir? That's the best possible play he could have. Yep, there it is. Yeah, so we drop him to 5. That's not too bad. And I can actually Zenith Blade this, either one of these.
So this is it.
Although maybe... Okay, we'll play Crimson Curator
I found my family.
and Legion
my
Veteran.
bloodkin.
I served for decades, and you call on me now.
If he board wipes, we could play Arbiter of the Peak. I suppose we don't actually care if this has Daybreak. In all fairness, we really don't care if it has Daybreak. Ruination. Okay. Can I play everything? That's the real question. So this is fine. Ruination is fine. We don't care about that. Do we go Priestess or do we go Arbiter? I think we go Priestess. Written in Stars is kind of what I was thinking I wanted.
Daylight warms the heart and lights the way.
That doesn't really help. So if we do this, Vladimir costs 4, right? So this gets down to 8, then 4 down to... Play Priestess, I guess. Take Traveler. Card advantage isn't too bad here. See what our opponent does. That's the big question. Vitalizing Roar. Okay. What's he got? Tryndamere. And now Tryndamere is free. Okay. What do we go for? Now I kind of wish I took the Comet. We'll we'll go for Written in Stars. Take the Vlad, and then that's an attack trigger on him. So,
Hello, my darling.
is it worth swinging though? Probably not, right? I assume he just plays Tryndamere here.
Grows restless.
Yeah, I mean, not ideal.
I cannot be sated.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. Our opponent may have stabilized.
To battle!
Yeah, not really worth blocking. Yeah, it's really where we wanted Comet, but maybe Destroyers are our best pick here. Although Great Beyond is just a lot of damage.
May all those who journey
So maybe we do
find
take
what
Great
they
Beyond.
seek.
In that case, do we want to bank Zenith Blade? That's almost lethal on his own. Man. Decisions. I guess we pass. Then we're gonna play the Great Beyond. He's got to double up to kill it. Ooh. Transfusion is good. Not lethal, but good. Ruination doesn't kill us. Because Spell Shield on Great Beyond. This Transfusion will also cheapen the cost of these two Arbiters. So if he does manage to double up removal and kill Great Beyond, we'll be able to still potentially play out our hand next turn. What's he got? Oh, doubling up spells. Can he kill Great Beyond? Avalanche comes down first. That still has him dead. Yeah, I mean that has him pretty dead. So I think we have it. I think we win.
Bottoms up.
Because the trigger hits, and then... Okay. So that's what he's going for. That's fine, because we're going to Transfusion, and that will kill him with Great Beyond. Because trigger plus Great Beyond kills him. Let's see if he has... I'm trying to think. Grasp of the Undying would work, I think.
One suffers, another thrives.
Go like that. See if he has the Grasp, or Withering Wail. Actually, Withering Wail probably kills him, because then he doesn't gain life here. Grasp, okay. Yep, that has him to 2. Well, that's unfortunate. He may have us now, then. And leveled up Tryndamere is pretty scary. Trying to think how we live through next turn. I mean, if he has another Tryndamere, we're just dead. No matter what. Because 8 more power gets him to, what, 17? Yeah. Block like that, see what he's got. Does he have the kill? Yes, he does. Alright, well, that was close. Our opponent had just enough answers. This deck did way better than I expected it to, considering it's missing all the primary win conditions, though, so that's pretty good. Not as much healing as we probably need, so that's one concern, but Soraka should help that. That's the big thing. Without Soraka healing, that's kind of a problem for the deck, because she's going to carry a bunch of the weight for us healing. Our damage engine works great. The transfusions plus Vladimir plus Imperial Demolitionist, that part works great. We just need more healing to make it work. But the deck did a lot better than I expected it to. Arbiter of the Peak, kind of a dead card, which is fine because that's probably the first thing to get cut. But yeah, interesting deck. I'm more excited than I was before to see how it does. Okay, well, we'll see how the Piltover Poros does against Tempo Sejuani. This ought to be interesting. They're a pretty fast deck, which is definitely concerning for us. Ooh, do we keep the Borealis? I really like a lot of what's happening in this hand, because Lonely Poro into Poro Herder is one of our better lines of play. The question is whether we can keep Aurora Borealis, because what we've got is not threatening on its own. I think we'll try it. I think we'll try this. I think we need some sort of late game payoff, and this is one of the better ones. And we are definitely going to keep Poro Cannon, because the ability to get flyers could be very relevant. Now, do we play this, or do we play Daring Poro? Troll Chant's so good, though. You know what? We're gonna do this. Oh, that worked! We were actually not going to block, but we just wanted to buff our opponent, or bluff our opponent into not attacking. So we'll play this, draw a Poro. Ooh, it's Mighty Poro, that's pretty good. And we'll swing like that, I think. Yeah, we'll swing like that. Ah, unfortunate. Takes the 2, though. We're winning the race right now, but we're going to take damage from this Prowling Cutthroat next turn.
Open wide.
I think we play Mighty Poro. He has less ways of dealing with this than Daring Poro.
He once fit in my hand.
Let's see what our opponent plays, because that will determine what we do next turn. Because if he doesn't build any board state, we're just swinging with both of these. That was definitely not on the list of things we expected our opponent to do. Yeah, we'll go like this. Wow. That's shocking. We got our damage through, though, so we do trigger our shared spoils, so that's good. Oh. Oh. Okay, then. No, we don't want to play this. It'll just die. We can use Troll Chant to prevent Cutthroat from dealing damage.
You won't feel it at first.
Force him to use spells if he wants to trigger Plunder. And next turn we're looking to Sejuani. We're going to probably Poro Snacks here, to be honest. Because I figured there's a decent chance he goes for like a Make It Rain. Okay, I guess it doesn't... We don't need to Poro Snacks right now. So we will Sejuani.
Carved from the savage cold.
See what our opponents get. Make It Rain into Riptide Rex. Warning Shot into Riptide Rex. Right now we can either Poro Snacks or Troll Chant, so that's one really good thing right now. Troll Chant or Poro Snacks? I think we Poro Snacks. Alright, perfect.
Ride onward.
Trust me, they add up.
And go like that. Ton of damage. It was a pretty good turn 6, to be honest. Oh, that's unfortunate. At least we didn't lose anything good to that. But him getting to keep it does kind of suck. Wow, he was only at 2? Oh, we've done... We're closer to leveling Sejuani than he is. Wow. I mean, I assume he has Sejuani in hand, to be honest, so... We'll see if that's true. This Fury of the North could surprise him. if we time it right. We're getting close to
Pain
Borealis.
is nothing.
Yeah, fine so far.
Born for conquest.
Yep. Expected that. I mean, yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay. That's fine. Do we even do this? Go like this. Go like that. Go like that.
Stand and fight. Leave no survivors.
Easy, Tiger.
Yeah, so I think we go for this because that's lethal. Let's see what our opponent does.
Wield your fury.
I guess we go for another one. Okay. So we're going to troll chant here. The question is, what do we want to do with it? Because I can lower this attack and pump toughness, and Sejuani will be at much higher health, or I can save the Daring Poro. I think we'll save the Daring Poro. That still drops him to 1. And then we're 1 turn away from leveling the Sejuani. We did lose both of our other Sejuanis to accomplish that, though. Man, make it rain's a blowout. Does he have it? Oh, Lord! Well, that wipes his board, and I keep this Mighty Poro. And little does our opponent know, we have Aurora Borealis to refill. We have 2 of them. So, I mean, we are okay with that. Okay. Oh, Riptide Rex. Nice. Yeah, I mean, not much we could do about that. Yeah, that's fine. We survived the hit, so we can always chance the hit. Ooh, that is what we were looking for. That is lethal in the air. Yep, that's fine. Plus we have Poro snacks to buff it. I think we got there. Okay. He goes to 4, so I could double Poro snack. Do you have another one? Oh, yep, we got there. Alright, wow. Poro's impressing, and we don't even have the, Porobot yet. But yeah, that was pretty impressive. Daring Poro is definitely the best one-drop Poro in the game, so we saw exactly why that's the case in this one, that's for sure. Not bad, not bad. We will absolutely take that. So that's surprising. I thought this was going to be the weakest of 4, but looking good so far. Alright, well, let's go on to the next one. Alright, last game here, and we'll be playing a variant of Lux Sol mid-range. From Tarek. I have a feeling they're probably looking to Written in Stars the Braum. Question is, what can we do about this? We keep the Lux, maybe? She could take over the game, potentially. This gives us a way to level her up the following turn. Single combat could be good. Yeah, we definitely keep... Oh, there we go. That's what we're really looking for. Single combat is good here, because if he's foolish and he swings the Braum and pulls something of ours, and takes damage from it, but doesn't kill it, we can then single combat to do the damage a second time. which should kill Braum. I mean, we are definitely just going to turn 3 Remembrance at this point. That was a pretty lucky find. Okay. Yep, so this is definitely an all-in Braum deck. Okay, lots of spells. I'm gonna guess... Yeah, so probably Entreat to find Braum, too. Oh, he's smart. He knew he had to swing then or never. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot of different ways to get Braum. Entreat, Written in Stars, and then ways to buff him. Yep. Digging for the Written in Stars. We'll see if he finds it. Probably just banking mana next turn.
Bask in her radiant blessing. Believe or burn.
Yep. No surprise there. We don't take any damage from that though, so that's pretty good.
How can Brom help?
I guess we kill him, right? Oh, he might have Elixir. Okay, he doesn't. Thank God. That was almost a huge throw. That was a bad play, though. I should expect a deck like this with Starlight Seer out and an all-in Braum plan to have Elixir of Iron.
Is on the job.
Okay. Oh, wow. Alright, he just passes. Disadvantages to attacking. Yeah, plenty.
Let the light
Play Lux.
guide you.
Could have Comet. That would be unfortunate.
I bring
Okay.
clarity.
That's not terrifying.
Shatter them.
Time for talking to.
And that way he doesn't die to anything. That's smart. You probably pull Lux is my guess. Oh, Lord. Ow.
Blessed by snow and stars. An auspicious season.
Yeah, I mean, we will take that. I don't want to block because that just gives him priority back to play another pump spell to kill our Lux, which is the last thing we want. Alright. Going for a Comet. There is no Comet. Oh, man. There is no good options here. I guess we take Meteor
Sunlight
Shower.
guide you, my brethren.
It's pretty easy to level Lux with that. Deal 4 to her. Well, we will heal her. And we will heal her. Keep her alive. Into the next turn.
This would be a good winter.
She should level up next turn because we can Meteor Shower. Ooh, do we Remembrance first? No, we Meteor Shower first. Go to kill Tarek and deal 1 to Braum. She'll level up Lux, get us Final Spark. Then we'll cast Remembrance, probably, get us another one. I suppose we should swing first. Oh, that's tragic. That is extraordinarily tragic. Okay. Now what do we need to do? Because we are definitely going to need to do something here. Playing out units is going to be one of our best strategies. So we'll play Vanguard Sergeant. And then we'll play Shield Bearer. And we'll play Soldier. I think. Actually, we don't need to play that many units. We'll bank the mana. Our opponent is almost out of cards. He can't actually counter a Judgment, so that is the biggest thing going for us right now. He also can't currently kill Lux. But this Tarek's got to level up this turn, right?
Fight or die.
I think our best choice is for Demacia then. Although we might lose Lux for that. Man, I think this is our best play though. I think that's better than Judgment.
Courage, soldier.
But I am not convinced of that.
I've been hiding my light too long.
Well, let's see if he can level this Tarek up.
To protect all.
Yeah, that makes
Lux Sol
sense.
Friends they do.
Well, without a pump spell, we can kill Braum. Okay, there we go. There's the pump spell. Doesn't level yet. Close though. That won't kill her at least. Not yet. So you have another spell. The fact that he got Nightfalls is pretty good for him, because I'm guessing there's a ton of spells in his deck. And all he needs is one. He's really thinking about this.
Have you met my shield?
Okay, he must not have it if he's gonna go for that play. I mean, we're okay with this. Bastion. Okay.
Stand resolute.
Oh, so he's gonna level him up.
Be a good
Oh.
winter. I am the protector of the mountain.
That was a very weird play. So I'm gonna assume he pulled Bastion. I'm gonna assume that he pulled Bastion off the top, like off the Pale Cascade, and that's why he did it in the order he did. Because otherwise, that's just bad. So we don't lose anything. He has. Oh, I forgot. We could just. Wait, didn't he level up Tarek? That's weird. Okay, I mean, we take the win, but that seems like a
Did we win?
bug. Oh, he needed this support to level up, so it already supported beforehand. Oh, got it. And then we would have, yeah, like we had that game, because then we used Final Spark to strip the whatchamacallit, Spell Shield off of Braum, and then the next turn we're set up to pretty much guaranteed kill him, or if not then, by the following turn. So yeah, our opponent pretty bad shape there. Didn't think that through, I guess. I also didn't think that through, not that far. Forgot that was going to give him the old support. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll take that. Lux Sol is still a good mid-range deck. And it'll be even better, I think, once we get Ibex, because giving Overwhelm to our units should be pretty strong. Yeah. This is probably the least interesting of the four decks, since it's a pretty standard meta staple, and it's a pretty small change that we're making to the list, other than switching back to the Aurelion Soul, so we can have the Wombo combo Aurelion Soul and Ibex turn. But yeah, alright, those are the decks we're looking at. Guess we'll talk about that more in the wrap-up. I hope you liked that preview into decks I'm going to be looking into once we hit the new expansion. Probably my favorite of those was the Fizzlusives deck. I think that's one of the stronger decks out of the list. We'll see how that goes. So that's probably where I'm gonna start myself. Mess around with the numbers a bit, try to get the balance right. But I think that's the strongest of the four. At least my first impressions. I mean, that Lux Sol game was pretty dominant, considering that our opponent had that crazy combo and they still couldn't do much, but we did play a handful of pretty standard matchups. Piltover Poros definitely impressed me more than I thought it would, so that'll be an interesting one to look at. I really think Porobot might be enough, but the problem is Poros is such a hard deck to pull off. It's pretty slow, its units are pretty fragile, that it's just... I have a hard time believing in it. Definitely Porobot is a strong push for it, because Piltover has the best one-drop Poro in the game, so the fact that that's true means that it's kind of been a faction or a region to keep in mind for Poros, but I just always found the Bilgewater version was better because of Zap Sprayfin for the guaranteed Poro snacks, and Plunder Poro being a pretty strong hit in and of itself. So I think Porobot's enough to potentially push Piltover to the best version of Poros, but I'm not sold that that's enough to make Poros competitive. But it's definitely a step in the right direction. So that ought to be interesting to actually try. The deck looked a lot better than I thought, and that was against a pretty meta deck. Spring to win. Honestly, it's hard to say. That worked a lot better than I was expecting it to when we're missing most of our big payoff cards. So I think that deck definitely has some chances. I think looking into it, I'm gonna possibly need more ways to heal. It's hard to say. Soraka might be enough on her own. Well, Soraka plus Spring. You can always use Spring to heal. I think that's a version of the deck where you don't just hold the Spring. I think that's definitely one where playing Spring on turn 2 could be good because, as you saw, we did a ton of damage to our units, so healing them every round is pretty big and should get us to the Spring payoff very quickly. So I think that deck is gonna. I think it's too soon to call. What we have already seems better than we thought, but it's still too early to call when we're missing that many engine pieces. So, and Lux Sol, it's still a good deck. It's a pretty minor change we're gonna make, so I think that deck could be good. I think it's really gonna come down to where the metagame ends up, essentially. Because the Lux Sol deck should do a little bit better against kind of aggro-y mid-range G decks, but kind of struggle against super late-game decks, or at least late-game ramp decks. And it should struggle against burn decks, probably. So that's the real sketchy part with it, but I could definitely see that being good enough, and the Ibex combo just seems pretty cheeky, essentially. Um, and again, a deck to keep in mind, I think, depending on Tuesday's announcements. If they have nerfs to Bilgewater Burn, then maybe the deck falls out. But I think Bilgewater Burn is definitely a good list to be on going into this. I think a lot of people are going to try some janky strategies, and Bilgewater Burn should pretty easily get under them. And I think Bilgewater Burn is just going to be a pretty strong deck. But that'll, of course, not be true if they hit it with some pretty heavy nerfs. But right now, anyways, the deck is really strong. I haven't seen any new cards announced yet that make it look worse. So it seems in a good spot. So all in all, my focus going into the start of the season is probably going to be on Bilgewater, Targon, Elusives, and maybe Bilgewater Burn. And I'll probably mess around briefly with the Spring to win to just see how it does. Probably take that into normals first before I jump into ranked with it. And then, depending on where the metagame goes, I might consider the Lux Sol, or I might be brave enough to try Poros, but it's definitely not where I'm going to be starting out. So I hope you like this kind of look into the metagame and my reads on it. We'll see if I was right once the Monuments of Strength gets here. But yeah, I hope you like these little preview decks and the rundown of some of the cards I think are going to be pretty big going into the future. So thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more videos just like